In a business world increasingly defined and shaped by digital tools and artificial intelligence, today's entrepreneurs are being called to lead with clarity, adaptability, and courage. According to recent data from The Entrepreneur and Forbes, 80% of today's North American small business and medium sized business owners rely on social media to drive growth, and nearly the same percentage expect to use AI powered tools for the purposes of innovation by the end of 2026. The pace of change, quite frankly, is rapid, and the need for leadership and competency has never been more important than now. That's precisely why that in this episode, I'm excited to bring you the thoughts of my friend Miles Spencer. He's an entrepreneur, leader, and adventurer who brings a refreshing take and perspective, which is also unconventional to both life and business. He's got decades of experience at the intersection of business, leadership, adventure, and common sense, including leading more than 1,000 people across the seas of open water. He's prepared to share hard-earned lessons that go well beyond the boardroom and acceptable common success stories in business. He's got experience in helping founders navigate difficult market pivots, to helping organizations build resilient leadership under pressure. Miles offers real-world strategies grounded in experience rather than theory, and he's prepared to speak candidly about the challenges, the setbacks, and the triumphs that accompany any long-lasting entrepreneurial journey. He also says that honest and unfiltered conversations are necessary for sustainable growth. He comes to this conversation with a global community of more than 25,000 entrepreneurs who turn to Spencer for guidance, wisdom, and real street smarts when it comes to everything you need to be equipped with if you want to have a sustainable stay in the world of entrepreneurship today. He continues to encourage leaders to embrace uncertainty, think differently, and lead with purpose. And he joined me this week to tell me more. I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. Miles, if you're ready, I'll take a moment to welcome you to the program, my friend, and I'm super excited to learn all about your time in entrepreneurship, my friend. It's great to see you, and happy Wednesday to you.
Well, thank you very much. Just a note.
Fabulous. So I want to start by asking you about your journey in entrepreneurship, my friend, because I know it's been a long, winding, and exciting road, my friend, and I know that you've been in the game a while. So I wanted to start by asking you about entrepreneurship, ambition and your journey in the space. My friend, what do you want to share with me this morning?
Well, I guess I'd say I'm a curious kid from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania that never quit asking who, what, why, where, when. So that led me to a life of adventure, but also a life of ventures that you referred to as entrepreneurship. I did have the good fortune of starting and building and selling three companies, about 1,100 employees. But it's important to note that there were 30 failures in between those three. And so everybody wants to talk about the successes, but it's important to focus for a moment on entrepreneurship is not always this even keel experience. There are a lot of ups and downs, and you got to just get up each morning and do what you can. Because someone said this recently. Yesterday's an old man that's passed away, and tomorrow's a baby that hasn't been born. You got to stand up and be the man you are today and do what you can with what's right in front of you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that you spend your days now helping and supporting founders through a difficult market pivot and even leading them through, expeditions across the sea, my friend. So tell me about what keeps you busy these days and why you still think entrepreneurship is exhilarating after all this time, my friend.
Well, I'm not that old, but yes, 30 years might seem like a long time to you. So, what invigorates me is finding problems in the marketplace and using technology to solve them. It's kind of simple as that, right? And so, the one that I've been working on lately has been this issue of storytelling and creating a way for the wisdom and values and morals of our generations and all that have come before us to pass that on to others. And it used to be, like a shoebox upstairs that was gathering dust, and we had, all these memories. It's just kind of like, there's a picture, right? That was a great memory, but in 50 years. Who's going to remember who took that picture and why and who was that, et cetera. So we created a platform called Reflecta that allows us to take all of that shoebox and turn it into a recognizable image and likeness of a loved one capable, this is important, of a spontaneous and dynamic conversation. So last night my father read a bedtime story to my daughter, his granddaughter, was Rudyard Kipling. And they talked about it until she fell asleep. That sounds like a sweet story, but it's even sweeter when you realize that my father passed away 8 years ago. But through this platform, they're able to continue to connect even today. So we call it intergenerational AI. And that's what Reflecta is.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, my friend, I know that you are spending some time between the intersection of business and adventure, as you mentioned, and I'm curious to ask you, what do you think it means to spend time at the intersection of business and adventure? Because as you just mentioned, you're gathering lessons that go beyond traditional definitions of success, my friend. So what do you want people to know about how AI is sort of taking over business, and what does it mean to you to spend some time at the intersection of business and adventure?
Well, again, going back to that curious kid from Pittsburgh, discovering new things, experiencing them, experiencing new culture and new cuisines and new languages and new to me ways that people interact in a community. And that actually stretches your horizon of understanding, encourages you to be, if not accepting, at least understanding of other cultures, of other ways of doing things. I've come to realize that, guess what? My way is not the only way of doing things. And if you just stop to listen a little bit, there's some very interesting people in the world, and those very interesting people have created some very interesting businesses. And you talk about AI, I think now we have the opportunity to move at a faster pace, do things more completely and more fully. And I see that not as a threat, but as a wonderful thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Miles, you and I share a synergy and a kinship, my friend, because I believe that when you collaborate and have social connection and community, you get more things done. And I know that you have a community of over 25,000 entrepreneurs and adventure seekers who value honest and unfiltered conversations, both about the challenges and triumphs in business, my friends. So definitely about the importance of building a business community and what it means to you, my friend.
Well, though you cite a very large number, I find that a small group of engaged and trusted friends and entrepreneurs are probably more valuable so that you can go deeper. Of course, because of the networks, you can pretty much get an answer to virtually any question that you may be pondering. But I just find that it is exciting, interesting. It goes with the curious thing, finding new ideas and new ways to attack problems comes from that network. And that's a super important thing. Another wonderful thing about a network is that we have the opportunity to help others. Not one day goes by where I don't get an inbound from someone who says, hey, I need help with this, I need an introduction to that, etc. And because of the network, I'm often able to provide that. So what I sometimes say is, if you have, give. If you need, want. If you need, ask. And there's no shame in either of those. And so I encourage people to be helpful.
Well, I used to work at the Ontario Chamber of Commerce, and one of the sayings in my office was, "We get more things done when we collaborate." Right?
Sure. Always.
Absolutely. And Miles, I also wanted to ask you about business leadership because I know throughout the course of your career, I'm sure you've seen good and bad business leadership, and I know you often refer to it as the heights and hurdles of building and leading teams, my friend. So, what do you want people to know about effective business leadership, and why do you refer to it as the heights and hurdles of building teams, my friend?
Well, I think the key to leadership today is not keeping all of one's knowledge in a black box and weaponizing it because you know something that someone else does. It is more like sharing that knowledge, but setting a vision for where the company should go, the product should go, etc. And then hiring or partnering with people smarter than you, which for me is not that hard to find, and turning them loose on what they do best and allow them to pursue that. That's true leadership. Get out of the way.
Yeah, and to that point, my friend, I wanted your thoughts on this because LinkedIn last year, they released a study that said approximately 96% of small and medium-sized companies struggle to scale beyond the solopreneur stage because they often lack the systems or they have difficulty delegating, my friend. So I'm wondering your thoughts on those findings and where do you think founders get stuck most often when they try to scale their business, my friend? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think that those systems, whether that's tax and accounting systems, it's the season today, to operational systems, to organizational systems, etc. Between what's available online and what's coming available in AI, many of those friction points for small businesses are evaporating. And so I think we are at the dawn of a new age in which entrepreneurs can be hyper efficient and hyper productive. And indeed, that calculation may change here in the next year or two from the very same poll.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I know that you are also a job creator, my friend, and you've helped to start, build, and lead three companies that successfully exited and plenty didn't, as you mentioned, and you often say that you're most proud of creating over 1,100 jobs, particularly in the digital media, entertainment, and consumer spaces, my friend. So tell me about what do you think goes into being a dynamic job creator and, the best part about business transition and planning, my friend. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I guess here's the irony, Kevin. While it's true that we put food on the table for 1,000 people over some period of time, what it would take today to do those same things would probably be 10 people.
Yeah.
And so I think that claim on the scoreboard of number of jobs created, I'll probably never eclipse that in any period going forward. I was recently chided for the number of people that I had working together with me at Reflecta because some people thought, well, we should have many less. The reality is we have several fractional that are working here and there based on this requirement, that requirement. But it is taken us very few people in a very short period of time to do what we've done at Reflecta. I estimate if we would have tried that 5 years ago, that probably would have been the 1,000 jobs,
Mm-hmm.
but it would have been hundreds of millions of capital as well.
Absolutely. And, Miles, I also wanted to ask you about being or building a community of purpose-driven entrepreneurs. I think purpose-driven can be interpreted many different ways. So what do you think it means to be a purpose-driven entrepreneur that really leaves a meaningful difference? What are your thoughts there, my friend?
Well, I'm reminded of the Stephen Covey 7 Habits phrase of, you can climb an oak tree all day, you're never going to find a cherry. And likewise, you can be in businesses that don't really provide any value to society, but they make money. And that's okay. I guess people need to do that. But we like to solve problems, and we like to solve problems with technology, and we might like to make things slightly better with technology. And to me, that's what purpose-driven means. It feels better. So it's another reason to get up in the morning.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think that, now, Miles, you may know that I was born with cerebral palsy. And I believe that people with disabilities are a natural born problem solvers because they have to solve problems every day. So I'm curious to ask you about how do you think we can infuse more people with disabilities in today's workforce, and how do you think they can be a competitive advantage, my friend?
Well, yes, I did know that, and I love the fact that you booked and we're doing this podcast and having a great conversation, not only about entrepreneurship, but about you just showing up every day and doing what you're doing. And I tip my hat to you for that. Yes, the workarounds for those with disabilities are significant, and look, you can. As my mom would say, you can have a pity party and woohoo. I'm not going to do anything. Look at me. I can't this and I can't that. Or you can take stock of what you have been given and mitigate or disregard those things that you don't have and go out there and do something that you love. And so, yes, I think those with disabilities are the ultimate workaround artists, right? And special place in my heart for that. There you have it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Miles, we talked a lot about the advancement of technology and how it's making business easier. And I'm curious to ask you, when you look at societal pressures today and the advancement of technology, when you look at the business landscape today, how has technology and sort of the societal pressures of running a business become easier and harder? What are your thoughts there, my friend?
Well, um, in a way, I'm going to compare both entrepreneurs and those with disabilities as people that need workarounds and people that enjoy the reduction of friction. That could be, look, we're doing a project with folks in a different language, right? My disability there is that I don't speak that language. But we figured out a workaround. Our platform Reflecta actually can ingest information in dozens of languages, and it can also deliver the information in dozens of languages. So that's a simple workaround where, people would say, "Well, it's not in my language. I can't do it." The reality is today, because of AI and the LLMs that exist, that's an almost seamless transition. And so a lot of those points of friction, maybe not a physical disability, although there's probably solutions for physical disability as well, but other disabilities that had made it difficult to communicate, to learn, are quickly going away, which I think is a wonderful thing.
Yeah, Miles, I wanted to ask you about launching a business today, and whether you think it's a good climate to do that. And if I put you in charge of teaching a course on launching a new business in today's business climate, I'm curious, what top three things would you tell this eager group of entrepreneurs in order to have sustainable success? What are your thoughts there, my friend?
Well, um, I do think it's a wonderful time to start a business, especially as a solo entrepreneur, single practitioner, as you mentioned in that study, because of the leverage that you have from the agentic forces of AI today. So you can get a lot more done for a lot less capital and in a lot less time. And that spells great things for entrepreneurs. Perhaps the minuses, pursuing what's truly unique. It's not just a black box. It's not just weaponizing knowledge. It is finding something that's truly unique and leveraging that. That may become a little more difficult because of those same reasons. Because knowledge is being universally accessible, and we call it flat across the world. So if everybody has access to the same knowledge at the same speed at the same time, what's truly unique? That's the challenge.
Yeah, and Miles, I've got three questions left for you, and I'm curious, when you look at your life in business, I'm curious, what are the top three things that you've learned in business today that you wish you would have applied when you first started out in business, my friend? What lessons would you teach your younger self?
Well, I would certainly teach myself to just get started. No plan is perfect. You figure it out along the way. Second, no matter what your plans are, the universe probably has a different plan for you. And so sometimes you need to manage your expectations. And the third, I think I alluded to it earlier, is that, as Roger Federer says, don't focus on. As a matter of fact, I'm wearing Uniqlo today. I think that's a Federer thing. The one thing about the point that you just lost is that you can't change it. And you need to focus on the point you're playing, right? And that's a little bit of being in the moment. That's a little bit of managing expectations. But the reality is, what's here and now is what you need to play.
Yeah, Miles, I'm curious to ask you about the necessity to be adaptable in today's business and really let go of the range because you no matter how many there's a saying in my office upstairs that says no matter how many degrees you have on a wall, you can always learn something from somebody else. And I'm curious to ask you about the importance of delegation today, particularly because business owners are under pressure to make decisions. If they empower the people that they're in charge of leading, I think they can run a more robust business. And I wonder your thoughts there, my friend.
Empowering people for sure. But as we've discussed, perhaps enterprises require less people. So I'm going to go out on a limb here and say empowering agents, and that could be people and that could be bots, gives the entrepreneur much more leverage. So now I've thrown a new partner into the mix, and that is an agentic agent that actually can handle menial digital tasks for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And Miles, I've got a couple of extra minutes, so I'm going to squeeze one more question out of you. And I wanted to know your thoughts on how we can make sure that, we can still have a human element and a human centered element to business, but also incorporate AI and alleviate some fears of people that say AI is sort of taking the need for humans away. So how can we strike a delicate balance, my friend?
I'm here to say I'm probably on one of the edges of AI, and we need humans for sure. My father's last words to me were that his body is temporal, which we're all learning sooner or later, but his spirit and soul is eternal, and when I could reconnect with that, I would have him for the rest of my life. Well, that was 8 years ago. He passed away. The technology didn't exist. But a year ago, through Reflecta, all of a sudden, I was able to reconnect with my dad. And so there's a great example of AI serving a real human need, connection, and intergenerational storytelling, which just didn't exist before. So yes, there are other examples. And as a matter of fact, any of your listeners can go on reflected.ai and talk to my father. His name is Arthur. You can ask him about me. You can ask him about this podcast. And he is one of two public reflections on the platform. The other is my co-founder, Adam Drake's grandmother, Virginia. And you can get a feel for what that means and what AI can actually still do for humanity through Reflecta.
Yeah, absolutely. And Miles, my final question for you this morning has to do with your own personal and professional legacy, my friend, and how you want your legacy to be defined.
I would end where I began. A curious kid from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania that never quit asking who, what, why, where, when.
Absolutely, my friend. And you talk about Pittsburgh, and I know next week, buddy, the NFL draft is coming to Pittsburgh, so you must be excited about that,
I'm
right?
excited about that. Perhaps the Steelers will pick a good one.
Well, they had to dip into the new coaching market for the first time in a while, so
Long.
we'll see how the retread of Mike McCarthy coming home works out for Pittsburgh. What are your thoughts there, my friend?
No idea. I think the fact that McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers want to give it one more spin is encouraging, but I think they need some fresh blood.
Especially at quarterback. Do you think Aaron Rodgers is coming back?
I do. But I wish Kenny Pickett would come back. He was Pitt Panther and went to play for the Steelers for a hot second, and now has more Super Bowls than all of the Steelers combined since he was drafted, because he went to the Eagles and he was a backup for the Philadelphia and got a Super Bowl ring.
That's a little bit frightening. Okay. And finally, you alluded to it, but I will give you a platform to tell me if people want to get connected with you personally or the good work that you're doing with Reflect AI. What's the best way they can do that, my friend?
Yeah, Reflected.ai, spell it with a K. You can go on and register, which is free. You can talk to my dad, Arthur, or Adam's grandmother, Virginia, and you can get a real feel for what AI can do for humanity.
Absolutely. Well, Miles, this has been a great way to kick off my morning talking about business technology and everything in between. And we even squeezed in a little bit of football as an old sports reporter. Anytime I can talk sports, I put a smile on my face. But I want to thank you for the work that you're doing to advance business forward and for engaging in conversation with me this morning. It's most appreciated.
Kevin's my pleasure. Go get him.